so by law, they were required. And so you can imagine that as Jesus is saying these things, everyone's thinking, no, he's not going to go there, is he? No, this is impossible. An example of this is Simon of Cyrene, where, if you remember, while Jesus was walking to be crucified, he's carrying the cross, and he falls, and he can't carry it anymore, and so the Roman soldiers make Simon to carry it. And technically speaking, that cross did not belong to Jesus. That was Roman property. I mean, wood was hard to come by. That belonged to Rome. And so those soldiers said, hey, Simon, or you, carry this cross for this man. So, what Jesus is telling his followers is to not only carry out a difficult task, but to carry it out cheerfully and to double it. For anyone to do that, that would be admirable. For you to do that for your enemies is unheard of. Can you imagine being a Roman soldier walking and saying, you, carry this load? And this follower of Christ says, okay, I will. And you're walking a mile, and you're talking, and you're doing it cheerfully, and then it's like, all right, give me back my stuff. Now, you know what? Let's keep going. It's fascinating. All right, so you're from Rome. Okay. So you have a family. Oh, interesting. Okay. Let's go another mile. Can you imagine the impact? This was unheard of. I grew up in a very small Romanian community. So about 12 to 15 families immigrated from Romania to Northern California, and my family was one of those 12 families. And so every single week, I would be listening to these sermons and these stories of people that I knew very well, of how they lived under communist Romania, under the communist regime, and how Christianity was illegal, and you couldn't pass out Bibles, you couldn't meet together as a church, and so people would tell stories of, being jailed, being in prison for Jesus, and other people would be, get hit by the secret police and get, slapped and fined and all that. And there was one older gentleman who told us a story of this girl that he led to the Lord. And this girl had 3 brothers. And after she became a believer, every single day they would just torment her, just make fun of her, just ridicule her for being a Christian. And so this girl would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and she would polish all of her brother's shoes. She would iron their pants. She would iron their shirts. And then they would get up, and they'd have all their stuff laid out. She did this not for 1 year, not 2 years, 3 years. Finally, one of her brothers just broke down one morning and said, why are you doing this? Everyone in my class thinks that I'm always dressed to the nines and that I'm always, my outfit matches, I'm in style. Why are you doing this? And she said, it's because I love you, and because Jesus went further than this to show me his love for me. And I want to tell you, this is what a Christian does. This is what a follower of Jesus does. We follow the example of Jesus. And so you can understand the impact that it had on this boy. She leads her brother to the Lord. So Jesus is asking his followers, hey, how far would you go to serve those who are trying to make your life miserable? Jesus hits at the heart and reveals to us that in order to have a transformed life, in order to do those hard things, we have to have a transformed heart. It starts there. 4th illustration, verse 42. Give to the one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who would borrow from you. In this final illustration, Jesus is instructing us, his followers, on how they are to respond to those who would ask of them. And there's 2 scenarios wrapped up in this verse. First scenario is, how do you react? How do you treat people who ask you for money, straight up money? Or the second scenario is, how do you react when someone asks to borrow from you? So Jesus addresses these 2 scenarios here. Now, in both scenarios, again, it's important to note, Jesus is not advocating that we enable the idle, or that we just keep enabling those who are too lazy to work. But instead, Jesus, in both scenarios, is teaching his followers that in both cases, the correct way to live is to give and to not expect anything in return. It's a call to living a generous life that goes deep. It flows not out of your wallet, but in the kingdom of heaven, there is no place for self-interest. That's what Jesus is saying. When you give without expecting anything in return. When you lend, be willing to lend it and not expect it to come back. If it's not repaid, you're okay with that. D.A. Carson, in his commentary on the Sermon on the Mount, writes this: the burden of the passage is that Jesus will not tolerate a mercenary, a tight-fisted, a penny-pinching attitude for which is a financial counterpart to the legalistic understanding of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So he says to give to the one who asks you and do not turn away the one who would borrow from you. D.A. Carson says, do not be asking, what's in it for me? What do I get out of this agreement, this exchange? I want to take these last few minutes and just walk us through what I think is vital for us to understand and then also practice these hard words of Christ. The first thing I want us to understand is that it's impossible for us to first understand it mentally and also do it practically without realizing that all of these words of Jesus, they must be understood in light of the cross. This passage must be seen in light of the cross, where Jesus came down into the world to serve and not to be served. Jesus says, I lay down my life of my own accord. No one takes it from me. I lay it down myself. Paul writes in Galatians chapter 2, verse 20, that we have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer we who live, but Christ that lives in us. And so Christ gave up his rights to love us. And he bids us do the same. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, theologian in the early 1940s, writes this, that Christ, in his commandment in Matthew 16, that if anyone would follow me, he must pick up his cross, deny himself daily, and follow me, the daily denying of ourselves is a visual application and participation with Christ and the cross. You want to follow Jesus? You want to be crucified with Christ? And so have him live and not you? It's the daily denying of yourself, taking up that cross, and following him. Follow his example. Because of Jesus, we're able to let go of our obsession with being treated fairly. Hear this. Because of Jesus, we we're able to get over our obsession with people treating us fairly, because, hear me, God in Christ Jesus did not treat us fairly. That's the gospel. God in Christ Jesus did not treat us fairly. That's grace. That's the gospel. When we understand that, when we live that, we're able to literally follow the example of Jesus and deny ourselves daily. Second, refusing to get even strengthens our trust in God. In your Bibles, go ahead and turn to the right to 1 Peter chapter 2. I want us to look at verses 21 through 23 real quick. It's amazing what the Apostle Peter writes about Jesus in these verses. 1 Peter chapter 2, verses 21 through 23. Listen now to the words of the Apostle Peter. For to this you have been called. Okay, this is why you have been called. Because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example so that you might follow in his steps. He committed no sin, neither was deceit found in his mouth. When he was insulted, he did not insult in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten. And here it is. But continued entrusting himself to him who judges justly. God the Son trusts on God the Father. When God the Father when we lay down our rights, it strengthens our trust in God, so that we can trust that God is our avenger, that God is the one who gives us our dignity when people take it away with insults, that God is the God who provides for us, that no matter what's taken away from us, God is a God who clothes the flowers of the field, feeds the birds of the air. Jesus is saying, trust in the goodness of God your Father. Just as Jesus laid aside his right and trusted in the justice of God the Father, he says, do that yourselves. Don't repay evil for evil. There will be a day, there will be an accounting for that. Trust and obey. Trust and obey that our God is a good Father, and with Christ, he has given us all good things. John Piper once said that we ought to live in such a way that the world might see that our money and our possessions, anything in our life, are not our treasure, but Christ is. And I want to steal that this morning and apply it in our context and in our passage. Because fundamentally, at the heart, what Jesus is saying is this. When you feel like you're wronged and you're insulted, respond in such a way that it might be clear to everyone around you that your pride, your dignity is not your treasure. Christ is. When you feel like your rights are being threatened, respond in such a way that it might be clear to everyone around you, your rights are not your treasure. Christ is. When you're asked to do more than you want or more than you can, respond in such a way that it might be clear to everyone around you that your abilities, your comfort, those are not your treasure. Christ is. And when you are asked for your money, respond in such a way that it might be clear to everyone around you, money is not your treasure. Christ is. Do you feel overwhelmed yet? Good. Because this is an impossible task. This is why we need Christ. This is why we need Jesus. Every time we fall for the ploy of the enemy, every time we fall for his sneaky temptations and deceits, Jesus reminds us that he's redeemed us from that. Every time we treasure something other than Christ, the Holy Spirit reminds us of our union with them and saying, treasure this. Treasure Christ. Understand that all your needs will be met. Understand that God will not allow his children to suffer want. Understand that following Jesus means you lay it aside. You deny yourself. Follow him. May we depend, Oxford Bible Fellowship, may we depend on Jesus to work in us this impossible task. Let me close by reading this prayer. Lord Jesus, may you work in us a surpassing righteousness so that we do not hold on to our rights. So we do not always insist on others being fair to us. So we are willing to be hurt. So we are willing to be vulnerable. Because then, just as in the ancient world, people will notice